My name is Erin Lindauer, and you're listening to A Life Without Struggle. I'm a wife, a mother of 2 wonderful children, a 2-time best-selling author, and a highly driven and successful entrepreneur. In my 17-plus year career as a mindset and health expert, I know what holds women back from a life you only dream about. Whether you're a CEO, a businesswoman, or executive, I started this podcast because I have been where you are, and I know you want and deserve more out of your life. I believe women are limitless. We just get lost along the way. The process to get you there is the topic and purpose of this podcast. When you understand what you want, you can truly step into a life without struggle. Welcome, and I'm so thankful you're here. Welcome back to another episode of Life Without Struggle. My name is Erin Lindauer, and today we're going to talk about our lens is distorted. And this one is about our perception of our reality or lack thereof. And so what I'm going to talk into is how we have honestly distorted how we view the world. And specifically, I'm speaking into how we view a woman's health. Okay, so this is actually coming from a very personal post that I posted on the internet that I honestly didn't even want to post. And I'm going to share all of the details as to why I didn't want to post and how much my husband pushed me to the point where, like, I actually worked through a lot of tears, to be honest, before I even posted. And I'm going to share this full picture, but this came from putting myself out there on the internet and all the kind of interesting things that women, actually, and men, that one surprised me, said. Okay, so my personal share here and why I even feel the need to come and talk about this lens being so distorted is I posted myself on the internet this past week, if you're listening to this in actual time, and I posted 3 pictures of myself from different times, and one dated back to 2020, the other one was from 2024, and then I posted one literally that I had taken that day. And so I didn't want to post this because I have gotten myself into literally the best shape I have ever been in here at 42 years old. But I wanted to share because I wanted to share the journey, and I wanted to share that this took time. I wanted to share that this wasn't just a shot that everybody freaking thinks. It isn't just you have arrived by just kind of sort of doing the things. Like, this has been in motion for quite some time, and it's honestly taken me almost 9 months here to actually get the results. But in reality, it has really taken me about 5, almost 6 years to see the results that I want. And nobody wants to hear that, right? Like, everybody wants to hear, cool, you can lose X amount of weight in 6 months and everything will be fine. So, okay, I didn't want to post because first off, I will be completely honest, I was so upset that I had let myself go like I had let myself go. Now, the picture where I was at my heaviest, I was 150 pounds. I was well over 30% body fat and in a terrible spot. Couldn't even blame the kids. This was 100% stress. This was pandemic. This was building a custom house, selling it back to the builder. It was finally getting into our forever, well, it's not our forever home, but what I thought at that time was my forever home, and finally being made whole. But I was so wrecked by that point. I was working more than I had ever worked in my life. Again, kids were like 2 and 4, I think is where we were at, or not quite 2 and 4. So tough time of life in general, let alone throwing on the stress of running a business and pandemic and trying to figure all that stuff out. And I was literally eating and drinking all the things. And so I remember asking Tony to take my picture. If you even saw the picture, I wouldn't even look at the camera if that tells you anything. I was so unhappy, just so unhappy. And so I I didn't want to post that because it was such a dark, dark time in my life. And so I wanted to share that. The middle picture, I wanted to share that one because I was skewed. I thought I was okay. I didn't think I looked too bad. Now, here's what's funny about the internet. People actually told me they preferred my middle picture and that I looked better, which that I'm going to touch on that because that was really odd. But for me, I knew, right? I knew that I think I was like 24, 26% body fat, not terrible, but definitely not what someone who runs a fitness, health, wellness, nutrition coaching program is going to want. So I just remember how I was like, honestly in denial. I was in denial how clothes fit. I was in denial about what the mirror actually was saying. And so that's actually its own story of a story there, but I knew that there was more. And so that picture I'd actually taken right before we started really going down the rabbit hole of optimizing our health. And I can't believe how puffy, how inflamed I was. But anyways, again, I'll share more details on that. And then I knew my current photo. I knew my current photo was going to challenge people. It was going to challenge people because most women never, ever will ever aspire to get themselves to 14% body fat. Okay. And so I say that because it's not wrong. This is your body. You get to do what you want to do with your body. And for me, why this was so important is because I wanted to challenge myself. I wanted to see how far I could take my health. I really wanted optimal health. And so, yes, there's an aesthetic look that comes with that, but then there's all the health benefits. So again, I'm going to go into, here's the results I've seen. Here's, how it's made me feel, why I felt what I felt, but I felt compelled to like paint that picture because of what happened next. So I did not want to post this, and I actually cried more than I would like to admit. And you may be like, girl, what the heck? Like, why would you cry about this? This is so cool. You did an amazing thing. And I did. I cried because of all the emotions, all the trying this, like, I'm going to get it together. Like how many times I started over on Monday. And the fact that it took me almost 6 years to see these results in all the challenges, all the trials, all the tribulations. And now you may be saying, hey girl, but that's what shapes our life. And so the emotions came from remembering the time and space and how hard, how frustrating, all the different things that we had gone through, all the different, family health things that, not between Tony and I, but just our family had gone through. And it was just like the amount of stress that I felt looking back at that time and space. And I honestly didn't want to post it because I was like, oh my gosh, I don't want anybody to know I was that big. And I'm just like, everybody knew you were, but I guess clothes hide it differently versus putting yourself out there. But Tony pushed me, and he pushed me pretty hard, almost to the extent of like kind of getting mad at me. Like, Erin, you have to show women what you can do, what is actually possible, because keeping this to myself is actually selfish. It is selfish for me to not show women what is possible and to inspire women, because that is actually my mission. And why I exist is I'm here to help women understand that there is more to life. This isn't it. We haven't arrived just because we went to school, had a couple kids, got married, some, combination of that or whatever, like segue, and got the career. Like, this isn't it. This isn't all our life was meant to be. There's so much more that we have, that we are capable of doing. So, okay, where did this go wrong? Because I will be honest, I've probably spent a little more time than I care to reminiscing over some of the comments. Now, most of the comments were wonderful and I appreciate and so gracious. And I thank you from the bottom of my heart, because who doesn't like to be accepted? Who doesn't like getting the high fives? Of course, that makes you feel good. And of course, I want to be liked. I want women to like me. Okay. Then came some comments saying you look better in the middle. Do you know what that does to a woman who just put herself out there, who just got herself in the best shape of her life, and you tell her that her middle picture looks better? Like, that's distortion. And this is what I want to speak to because, quite frankly, if I don't, no one's going to speak about this. And I may rub you the wrong way, and it's cool. You can just stop listening. Like, you don't have to listen to my podcast. But the woman in the middle was not healthy. The woman in the middle was so inflamed. And this is where probably most people don't understand is that woman had extensive biomarkers done. That woman had all of her genetics tested. And I learned a lot about what was going on in my body. I was in an artificial menopause from years and years and years of taking birth control. I didn't know that it wasn't normal to have night sweats at 42. I didn't know that, not having any libido, I thought I was fine. I thought, what we did was normal. And I didn't realize that that wasn't until I had a doctor work with me extensively from having all of my biomarkers and help me understand what I was actually doing to my body by being on birth control. It was hell for 3 months trying to get things stabilized. And thankfully, naturally, I was able to stabilize my hormones because she said, hey, this could take us 6 months to a year to get figured out, but hang with me. And I remember, just feeling like such a train wreck. And I was like, God, this is why I was on this. But being where I'm at now, I can tell you it's a completely different feeling. So the woman who said, the multiple that said I looked better in the middle had no clue how unhealthy that person actually is. So those comments, I just was like, wow, okay, distortion for sure. And I also know too that this is their perception of what health is because they've never seen themselves, maybe even to the person in my middle picture. And so then I could get past those comments. Then I got a pretty extensive message basically calling out that I looked like I had an eating disorder or was sick. I hope you guys are laughing because that one actually made me cry more than I'd like to admit. And, I'm pulling it out of context. The person was basically coming out and telling me that the way I wrote my post, it didn't make sense, which, anybody who corrects anybody's grammar, like, I'm just going to be honest, like that doesn't make you feel very good. And over the years, I have had just a handful of women do that. And it's a very similar type of woman. And I understand where she was coming from. The way I wrote it, I could have written it a little bit better. I didn't chat GPT it. Erin Lindauer wrote this. And so I get it. And so I was like, okay, Erin is good about kind of like working through tough conversations. And so I was like, okay, cool. This was really good feedback. But I'm like, damn, you don't say this to another woman. And she said a lot of other things that I'm not going to bring up on this because it just was so mean. And I wanted to come here and share this because we don't have to do this, ladies. Just because you don't feel good about you doesn't mean you need to put other women down. Okay. This is why women are so hesitant to lead from the front because of the naysayers, because of the comments or women not being happy for you. I guess you could say the haters, although I don't look at anyone's post comments as a hater. I look at it more that they were just so unhappy with themselves that they are going to drag other women down who maybe have been successful. And so you've heard the story of like the crabs in the bucket. Like, we don't have to put a lid on a bucket of crabs because there's always going to be another crab to pull the one that's trying to get out down. Okay. So this is why we are so hesitant. This is why personally I didn't want to put myself out there, because honestly, I hate to admit it, and even I'm working on this more and I can do a better job, is really just not caring. You know, when someone says that, like, just be you, girl. The problem is we do want acceptance. We do want people to like us, but to what extent? And so thankfully, I've been able to kind of work through this. And at the end of the day, when I look at my biomarkers, when I look in the mirror, when I put clothes on, I feel so confident. I feel so good in my own skin. And I know that I'm living out my mission through myself for not only the women that I'm here to inspire. You don't have to look like me. You don't have to have the numbers that my numbers are. But the point of this is to inspire you that there is more, that what you actually desire is possible. For most women, they're doing the wrong workouts. They're absolutely not addressing their nutrition the way that they actually need to. And again, it's our lens is distorted as far as what it takes to have the success that we want in our life. And here's the thing, you want people in your life that are doing a win-win. So you want to cheer for other women when women are doing well, because if you're not, this is your unconscious mind saying that you're not going to be successful. You actually don't realize how much damage you're doing by not cheering for others, because when you win, I win. It's a mirror. When I win, you win. When I win and show myself, I show you what's possible if you're willing to do the work. This doesn't mean, God, some of the words, and I'm just going to pull them out. She said something about you're encouraging women to shrink, to be smaller, to not take up space. And I was like, whoa, I don't even understand this. But what I understand is, you know, by a person being larger in stature, by a person being overweight, that's a good thing. No, it's actually not. And my point and premise is I want women to be healthy, and we will define what healthy means for you. I have women say that all the time to me. I'll get on a call with them. Tell me about your goals. Tell me what's important to you. Well, Erin, I just want to be healthy. Okay, tell me what healthy means to you. And sometimes I do have to educate them. Hey, if your body fat percentage is over 30%, hey girl, that is actually not healthy. You are putting yourself at higher risk for multiple diseases. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but you're putting yourself in the future at a higher risk. And there's a cost. You can either pay for it now and get yourself in a better place, or you're going to pay for it later. And it will show up in a multitude of ways. It shows up in autoimmune disorders. It shows up in, I can't lose any weight. It shows up in going to your doctor and being gaslit because you have symptoms, but you can't put your finger on what's going on. Okay. And this is the rat race that I know most women experience, but we could mitigate this if we just took control of our health. Again, doesn't mean you need to be 14% body fat. And actually, ladies, just going to throw it out there. I'm actually going to get to 12% body fat, and I'm going to put a ton of lean tissue on, and you're going to be like, oh my God, she has so much muscle. I don't like that. Cool. I do. Like, this is what I actually want. I enjoy it. But here's the most important part. I am being a role model for women to understand that you can have a higher level of health. You can have the look on your body. I am not special. I am not taking some magic shot that y'all think I'm doing, but I am taking care of myself. I'm doing the work in the gym. I eat extremely well, okay? But the way that I eat is not crazy. It's focused on protein. I tend to eat a little bit lower carb, but not completely carb free, not even close. And so where I wanted to take this message for you is I really want you to understand where I was almost 5-6 years ago. 5-6 years ago, I was in the biggest stress of my life post having, our kids. And I think that was a challenging space for me. And I would also lump it that I was probably still having some residuals of having super young kids. Like I said, we had, I think Liv was like 18 months. So then that would make Leo like 3, not quite 4. So again, young kids, anyone can appreciate that I think is probably the more challenging time. It's when they're mobile and you can't just contain them. Like you got to chase after them. I was always like, if you can't get 10,000 steps in, let me bring you my toddler and you will get 10,000 steps in chasing this little monster around the house. But what I wanted to speak into is back in 2020, the body that I had was inflamed. That body was not healthy. The body was going to go down a very, very tough path if I chose to say I'm fine. If I chose to say this is it. If I chose to say it's just my genetics. If I chose to just, this is what happens to women, at 40. So my encouragement to you is if you see that picture and I have it posted on my social media and you go, gosh, that looks like me. I want you to understand what is actually possible for your body. And the cool thing is, I was able to get, I think it was like 17 pounds that I pulled off my body, and I did it pretty quickly. Now it's 1 pound per week is what I mean by quickly. And then I hung. And that's actually its own story in itself. I hung for a very, very long time looking like the middle picture. The middle picture was fine by most people's standards. It was healthy. She works out, but I wasn't fine. And that's the bigger story of this. I always knew that I could go to the next level. I always knew that I could optimize my health. Of course, we have to eat correctly. And I'm here to tell you, ladies, like I eat more correctly than you probably realize. There maybe are some splurges here and there, but my food is pretty on point. Now, some of you have come in my DMs and you've told me, hey girl, I eat pretty well. Well, I'm here to tell you we could take it another level. And sometimes I do find absolute areas we need to tweak. The other part of it is I really fell in love with just progressive resistance training 3 days a week and then simply walking. This is exactly what I help women do in my coaching program because we cannot do HIIT training. We can't do just Pilates and yoga. We can't do Orange Theory. We can't do CrossFit, and we can't run the snot out of our body if we have extra weight on our body and are in our 40s and our 50s. There's a lot that's actually going on from a hormonal standpoint. So when I went the next level, really dialing in my food on another level, dialing in my workouts, and then working with Elevation Health is who we have used to help us from a body optimization. I'm here to tell you that taking peptides, taking a growth hormone simulate, or how am I trying to say it? That is not going to give this look. Just being genuine. This is going to help you optimize from the inside. It's going to help you recover, but it is not going to just completely drop fat off your body. You have to actually do the work. So I hope this is helpful in hearing just a little bit more of my journey, kind of just the things that I have had to personally go through. And when you're leading from the front, it's interesting because not everybody's going to cheer for you. And that was something that, I don't know, I even just kind of like felt it. And maybe that's what I was projecting and why I received some of the comments that I did receive, right? And this is a lesson even for myself in understanding that, I don't have to take on other people's distortion of what they believe is healthy. And the thing that I want to also pinpoint on this is through this entire journey, I have been monitoring my body fat percentage, and I was able to actually put on lean tissue. I kind of look at it as I maintain lean tissue. So when I started this journey, I was 54 pounds of lean tissue according to an in-body scanner. And when I did my last assessment, I was at 56 pounds of lean tissue. So in my eyes, that's staying pretty much the same, but that is its own thing that we need to talk about, because right now everybody seems to have some awareness around using these GLP-1s and, oh my God, you're losing all your lean tissue. And I'm so glad that that's actually a conversation that we're actually having now. But this is where I'm here to tell you that I was able through this entire process to not only keep my lean tissue, but I was able to actually put some lean tissue on. And that's actually the phase that I'm going into. So it's important for you to understand what a high level of health actually looks like. And the person that I was back in 2020 was not healthy at all. The person who is, in the middle was better, but still highly inflamed. So there's a lot to be said about really understanding your body fat, understanding your lean tissue, and also understanding the actual look that you can create. You know, I know today, based on my biomarkers and working with my physician, that I am in such a better place than I was, you know, just even 5-6 years ago. And that's why I'm such an encourager of knowing your biomarkers, understanding in great detail what is your body fat percentage, what is your cortisol, your hormones, what's actually going on. So I'm curious what questions have popped up, and I'm curious how you feel about this topic, because I truly feel that we have a distorted view of what health looks like. And that has been intentional. This has been a narrative that has been pushed, that whole body positivity. And this is not a slam against Lizzo, but they put Lizzo out there as, you know, body positivity. And this is me not wanting to shame any woman. That is not the purpose, but that was not healthy. And I think what we're trying to say is, hey, you can love yourself no matter where you're at from a health standpoint, but that's not healthy. And that's where my message really comes in is, hey, when someone is puffy, inflamed, carrying 15, 20 pounds too much, like, sure, your health may not be in trouble today, but you're not in optimal health. You're not mitigating your risk for disease. And this is what most people actually don't know about me. Most people don't know that my genetics, I have some extremely tough genetics from heart disease, type 2 diabetes, high cholesterol, hypertension, so high blood pressure, type 2 diabetes. I've said all that, but I am predisposed to go down that same path. And again, had I not chosen to take care of myself, I could be in the same point that people in my family in their 40s got on high blood pressure medicine, got on type 2 diabetes medicine, started taking a statin for high cholesterol. And actually, cholesterol is one that I'm actually working through pretty extensively right now, because my cholesterol, believe it or not, is too high. And so we're working through it from all the different natural standpoints that we can. And obviously monitoring it. I've had heart scans, which I actually have a calcium score of 0, which is fantastic. So again, I wanted to come here because we have a very distorted view of what health actually looks like. And we need to not put women down when they're in a point that maybe you never desired, you never even thought was possible for you. But maybe, just maybe, because I chose to put myself out there and show you what is actually possible, you might say, gosh, okay, I can get those steps in. I can get those workouts in. You know, I can eat just a little bit differently. And you know what? I can be patient to the process. More than anything, I wanted to share that, hey guys, this took me almost 6 years to do. This didn't just happen overnight. some people think, oh, cool, you started taking all these different peptides and growth hormone stuff in stuff to help me recover. No, that is the access of things that we have, again, under physician's care. I'm not ordering this off the internet. I'm not having, a nurse practitioner just, hand it to me. I'm actually going through extensive biomarkers and genetic testing to understand my methylation pathways and understand what's actually going to work best for my body. And I highly recommend everybody has access to this kind of technology and this kind of science. So my encouragement to you from this message is, first and foremost, don't listen to the naysayers just because their lens of the world is skewed and their perception of health is totally different. Because this is what I know happens with women is, oh, don't get too skinny. I've heard that one before too. Don't get too skinny. Growing up, I remember hearing that all the time. You're so skinny. You're so skinny. Well, that actually leaves a mark. Okay. That actually is something that even myself, I've had to really process, and why I'm so infatuated with lean tissue is because I don't want someone to say, oh my God, you're so skinny. I want someone to say, holy crap, you look really strong. I love your muscle. Like, dude, you look amazing, but more not from the, oh my gosh, you're so skinny. Cause that is like, I don't walk around and say, you're so fat, right? Like, which I would never freaking do. But it's something that I think about so many times when a woman shares just those thoughts. And I've also heard the words before, you have skinny genetics. Actually, I don't. So there's that. So anyways, I know I kind of rambled on with this one because it's important for us to understand what health actually really is. Every woman should work their tail off to get under 30% body fat. But I'm going to tell you that is just like a minimum standard. That is like, I don't know. That's just, I don't know. It's not healthy. It's just cool. You've mitigated, some risk for disease. I challenge you to get to that 24% body fat era, because that's where, you're seeing the look, your clothes are fitting differently, you're wearing different sizes. Getting yourself into the low 20s, that is going to take absolute changes. It's going to take resistance training. It is going to take time for you to see that. Most women are not going to desire to get under 20% body fat, but there is a subset of women that are like, dude, what can I do? Like, show me the way. And that's what I wanted to do, is I wanted to paint the picture, show the way. And of course, you'll have the naysayers say you look like you have an eating disorder and are sick. And I just have to laugh now because I'm like, wow, I'm actually in better health from a biomarker standpoint. And my physician is so proud of what I've been able to do in just truly optimizing myself. So let's have a better understanding of what health actually looks like from a visual, because everyone walking around, for the most part, is not. The problem is we have been conditioned that this is the way it is. We've been told that this is the way it is. We are told that, oh, you're fine. We've accommodated by making bigger seats, seatbelt extenders. We've done all these things to, you're fine. It's okay. Just take this drug, take this shot. You'll be all right. And I'm here to tell you, do everything in your power to get yourself in the best possible shape, because you never know when you're going to need it. So let's take a second to really understand what health really means. And if you have questions, because I'm sure you do, don't hesitate to reach out to me, because it's important for me to lead from the front, to show you what's possible and to help you understand that, hey girl, you don't have to settle. Like, there's so much more than feeling uncomfortable, none of your clothes fitting, looking in the mirror and just saying, I'm fine. Like, there's so much more. And when you feel good in your own skin, when you walk in a room and heads turn, when everything you wear fits, it's just a different headspace to be in. When your kids are going out for ice cream and you're like, you know what, I'm going to have one too. It's cool because you've done the work and you're not gorging on ice cream every other night. You view it as a treat once in a while. This is what's possible if you choose, and I would love to help you through that process.